In this morning with a big win in the battle against DEI and woke censorship programs. Microsoft informed a Senate Commerce Committee they have no existing relationship with the left-wing media monitoring group NewsGuard. Microsoft also told the committee they instructed NewsGuard to stop using its name on the group's website. Senator Cruz has questioned CEO of Microsoft, asking why they used NewsGuard in the first place. It's a left-wing political organization, and why they would use NewsGuard to determine how MSN users get their news. Microsoft now joins a growing list of companies distancing itself from woke programs like NewsGuard.
And NewsGuard was founded by Steve Brill, a very big Democratic Party activist and donor. He backed Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and now he pretends to be a neutral journalist. Big tech like Microsoft have used NewsGuard in the past, and many advertising agencies continue to use them to block ad revenue to conservative media. You can read our story about it today on Newsmax.com. We're going to be covering a lot more about this in the future. And for more, let's bring in Texas Congressman Michael Cloud. Sir, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Just want to get your thoughts. What do you make of this disavowalment of NewsGuard from Microsoft?
Well, it's a good start. We all know the censorship regime that the Biden administration had stood up, working with private companies as well to force feed this upon the American people, to censor voices of dissent and the like. It's a good start, but there's still a lot of work to be done. I know Microsoft still has DEI as a major objective of their company, and they're still trying to promote that kind of ideology globally. So we'd like to see a little more action there as well. But this certainly is a good first start in the right direction.
You know, Congressman, after President Trump announced his administration will end DEI, you and Montana Congressman Eric Schmitt introduced the Dismantle DEI Act this week to ensure that Trump's actions are permanently enshrined into law, and which prevents future administrations from basically starting up all their woke policies through executive orders. I mean, tell me why this law is so important.
It's so important because while we can sit here and appreciate the great work that President Trump is doing, and certainly as an American and as a voter, first of all, I am very excited to see what's coming out of the White House. But as Congress, we got to realize that we have a job to do as well. And anything he can do through executive action could be undone by another president through executive action. So we have to make sure that we're coming behind him and we're codifying these practices. And so our legislation makes sure that these kind of agencies, we know the Biden administration had stood up a DEI office in virtually every single agency, was force feeding this upon our workforce here in the federal government, but then also through grant writing and through contracting, force feeding this on the American people. So if you had a company that was doing business with the federal government, they would make your company embrace these sort of activities and ideologies, force feed this upon your employees if you wanted to interact or do business with the federal government. This kind of stuff cannot continue. We've got to make sure we put the nail in the coffin on this one in these divisive practices in our country.
We know how Republicans feel about it as well as Democrats. They've been very vocal about it. But I know you talked to the voters and the people that are watching our show right now. What have they said to you about this Dismantle DEI?
Well, American people understand that this ideology, for all the glowing terms around it, is divisive. It makes, when you go to get a job or you're being evaluated for a position, it makes all these demographic things, distinguishing features, the most important thing, when it really should be about content. It should be about merit. Can you do the job? And we should, as people, you know, some of these issues have had major safety concerns. We know companies like Boeing, their safety became a secondary goal, for example, on safety. And so people's lives really were at risk. We saw this with the Secret Service, not able to protect the president when they needed to. And so we've got to get away from this. The American people are excited to see businesses turning from this. If it was working, we would see businesses continue to embrace it. But now that there's not government cheese attached to it, we see the business community saying, you know, we've got to get away from this. It's not working for us as well.
Yeah, Congressman, you know, we know obviously the fight against DEI is a huge issue on the president's agenda. Obviously, codifying it will basically protect it. Another item is on his agenda is obviously tax cuts, reconciliation, getting the economy going. I've heard rumblings, some reporting out there saying that Speaker Johnson might unveil what this first look at the reconciliation tax cut bill will look like. Do you have anything on that you can share with us this morning?
Well, I can tell you that we've been working hard across the conference. There's been talk over the last couple of months of a $1 one-step plan, two-step plan, and people have been on both sides of that issue, but we've all been united around the fact that we've got to support the American First agenda, and how we get there is really secondary to us executing on what the play call is. So the things that we have to make sure that are in there is we've got to have savings for the American people. We've got to cut back on the growth of government. We are headed toward a fiscal cliff that is much as a national security issue as our open borders and many of the other challenges we are facing as a nation. So we've got to have a course correction. And so we need the tax policy in there that gets wins for the American people, but we've also got to make sure that we're providing savings, so that we're shrinking this expansive government. And just over the last several weeks, as we've seen Doge come into play, and we've seen the ridiculous spending that our federal government's doing on the backs of the taxpayers, you can see that there's a lot of room here for movement on that, in us right-sizing the federal government and making sure that we're getting wins for the American people.
You could almost say it's time to let the Doge out.
Who let it out?
Congressman Michael Klatt, thank you for spending part of your Friday morning with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, now it's time to